I am joined now by the newest head coach on campus, the gentleman who is in charge of our eSports program. You've heard his voice on the WTUD airways, calling games with me, doing a lot of stuff for us, and he's been a huge asset to us, and we're super excited for his new opportunities here on campus. Mr. Chalin Cahlik, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, Russ. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for joining us here at WTUD for our Campus Connections. But let's talk a little bit about eSports. You guys recently had an open house, and tell us about the open house and how all that went.
Yeah, we had our showcase yesterday, and it was amazing. We had quite a few students that were able to kind of broadcast their talents, show all the hard work we've been putting in over the last 3 months. We've had quite a few faculty members, quite a few staff members come up to us saying, we think it's great what eSports is doing for the campus, but we're going to be honest, we really don't know what it is. We don't know what the games are. We don't know what the industry is, and we were really able to answer a lot of questions. We had quite a few people show up, which was awesome. People from admissions. We even had, President Schumacher was there.
Nice.
She brought some board members. It was awesome. We were able to really showcase what the program is all about, and we were able to expose the students to what it's like to be in the esports industry.
It's a lot different, I'm sure, than your recruiting. You're recruiting, you're going to see these kids that already have a pretty good idea of the esports industry, I'm sure. But then the adults that the parents of those kids, as well as the people on campus, there's a recruitment aspect of what you're doing, and there's an education aspect of what you're doing.
Absolutely. One of the big challenges we faced in the early going was talking to guidance counselors, and we'd call them and say, hey, we want to set something up, to have something. And they'd be like, are you punking me right now? Like, is this a joke? I'm like, no, I really do want to talk to these students about giving scholarships for video games. But yeah, absolutely. We've done a great job, I think, so far of talking with parents and talking with staff members, faculty, kind of exposing them to what the industry is all about. A lot of times the students, we'll be in like a room one-on-one with the students and the parents, and I'll say something, the parent will kind of look at the student like, is that true? Like, is that? And he'll be like, yeah, mom, like that really is true. But it's definitely an interesting field. We were able to kind of talk with a lot of the professors and tell them, how valid this industry really is. I mean, one of the big stats that we kept bringing up, they did like an estimate of the overall revenue generated for esports as a whole next year.
I think I know where you're going.
The estimate was $3.4 billion.
Golly.
And I mean, that's an industry that realistically, we're talking came out about 8-9 years ago. So to go from, a small conference room in a hotel to now the entire industry making about $3.4 billion, it certainly says something.
Was it last year that they grossed more than the NHL?
Yeah, it was a pretty big deal. Rick Fox, if a lot of you guys know him, a ex-professional basketball player.
Saw him on some NBA studio time there.
Yeah, that's right. He used to play for the Lakers. He recently purchased an esports team, and about 2 years ago, he said, within the next 5 years, I see esports grossing more than the NHL. A lot of people gave him some flack for it, but it finally did happen, and it's becoming bigger and bigger. Well,
Rick Fox is one of the guys that you got to meet recently on a trip that you took out to the West Coast as part of the startup here at the eSports program. Talk a little bit about the whirlwind since last fall to where we are now with all the travel you've been doing and some of the connections you've made not only for yourself but for Tiffin University.
Absolutely. I officially came aboard January 1st, but I'd been helping out with the program since about October of 2016. We've done some really great things and made some really great connections. We went out to the Biz Esports Conference out in California in February, and we met some incredible people. We met Steve Arndt with the Team Liquid. We met Noah Winston. He's the CEO of Immortals, and that's a story in itself. I mean, a guy's 22 years old and has an esports program that makes pretty darn good money. We were able to meet Rick Fox. He was one of the keynote speakers out there, which was really incredible. Talking with him and his partner. His partner was one of the ones that founded the San Jose Sharks. So talking about people that really know what startup is like and how to grow a area into a large scale business. We made some great connections out there. Some companies that definitely want to eventually work with us and have the Tiffin University esports name just grow even further. We were able to go up about 2 weeks ago. We went to Eastern Michigan University. They were nice enough to have us. They have a large charity they do called Gamers for Giving, and they make video game kiosks for kids that are in the hospital.
That's awesome.
Long periods of time. So they raised a bunch of money for that. I think they were upwards of like $300,000-$400,000. They had a lot of a lot of large scale streamers were able to raise money and donate to that. And we met a lot of great people there as well, people that we had started talks with when we were a lot smaller, and they've said, hey man, like we've watched you guys grow, like this is awesome.
Wow. And let's talk a little bit about how that growth has happened. You guys have been bringing students in, getting ready. I guess students coming in this year will be participating come next fall. You have some kids on campus now who are part of the program. Talk a little bit about the numbers, and then we'll talk about where you think the growth will end up with this.
Absolutely. So right now, when we started this program, we had 2 students actually transfer transfer in from other schools because they were so excited about the program. And then we had roughly, I would say, about 12 to 13 students that were already on campus that were interested in the program. And then obviously, as you keep going forward and they start realizing how much work is actually in it, because we practice just as much as a traditional sports program, the numbers certainly fell a little bit just because of that. But you have to be able to have that drive and that passion for it. So right now we're looking at about 30 students right now that have committed to become Dragons next fall, and all of those students will compete at some point in the Collegiate Star League, which will be our conference that we'll be joining, and then maybe a few outside tournaments depending on how that all works. But it'll be a really great fall season for us, and our season actually goes all year round. We have what's called the fall split and the spring split, and then at the end of the year you have the playoffs where we do actually compete for scholarship money.
One interesting fact about this too, a student doesn't have to be an on-campus student to participate in eSports, isn't that right?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. We're actually reaching out to quite a few different countries, talking with students from China, from Korea, all over the world, trying to talk to them about being able to enroll here at Tiffin University, because I've had quite a few talks with students that say, I just can't afford to move to the United States, but I would love to get a degree in the United States. So they're able to come here and participate on the team and, go big. One of the things that we're really excited about is developing internships, developing network connections for these students. We kind of joke, but I kind of say their success is my success. If I, eventually have a student that goes on and works at a large-scale organization, I can come knocking on the door in a year and say, hey, remember where you got your start?
I have the same thoughts about you.
I need some internships.
I have the same thought about you.
That's kind of where I'm going with this. Remember where you got your start? We need some internships. We need some opportunities for current students. And, one of the things that I love about Tiffin University is the family aspect. We talk about, Marathon and stuff, how they continually provide internships for students. And that's what I want to be able to have with the eSports program.
What's interesting, too, about the eSports is, you mentioned this is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it's focused on one thing, and that's the video games themselves. But there's a lot of different industries that get involved from the making, the designing of the video games, the programming of the video games, like you said, the streaming aspect. There's a huge array of opportunities for kids that aren't just with a video game controller in your hand.
Absolutely. That's one of the things that we're talking about. We're developing an eSports minor that will accompany all our already existing degrees. We're talking, you can get a business degree with an eSports minor, a marketing degree with an eSports minor,
That's awesome.
Finance degree with an eSports minor. Because you start looking at these companies, you have to have somebody that's an accountant, regardless of what your business is. If it grows large scale, you have to have somebody manage the money.
Right.
You have to have somebody that can able to push your brand and market it. And if you have that eSports minor, you separate yourself. You have 100 guys that all apply for a position with a business degree. You have one guy that applies with a business degree and an eSports minor. You've set yourself ahead of everybody else. And then obviously associating yourself with a successful eSports team certainly couldn't hurt.
There's even the music that is put into these games and things like that. There's I could see an eSports and a music like a combined major type situation as well.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at people that go into the movie industry and they have nothing to do with the production of the movie.
Just writing scores.
Now they're just writing scores for large scale movies. I mean, that's very much so something that you need. We have a young gentleman right now that's contemplating coming in, and one of his big aspects is he wants to do video production for us. And that's something that we 100% welcome. Be able to have somebody that can go through, edit some of our highlights, put out some highlight videos, put out some promos. We want to do stuff with students, have them kind of expose what they do at an eSports program to coming in students, to current staff, to anybody on the social media web.
We're talking to Chalin Cahlik. He is the head coach, is your title right now, right? Is that right?
That's correct.
Head coach of the Tiffin University eSports program. Why don't you go ahead and remind the people of what games are part of the eSports program?
So right now, we fully staff and coach 2 games, League of Legends and Counter-Strike Global Offensive. We welcome any game to our campus, and we will work with you to the best of our ability. But as the program grows, we are looking to add more and more games. But if somebody wants to bring in something like your Call of Duties, like your Overwatches, we'll fully support it. You'll be just as member of a team as anybody else. You'll be able to have uniforms. We'll put you through tournaments.
I like your jacket.
Oh yeah, there you go.
That's very nice.
We'll have to get you some over there at the radio house. But absolutely, we welcome anybody, gamers, geeks. We bring them all.
What's the biggest challenge you think you faced so far, and from the start up to where we are now?
I think the biggest struggle right now is, as with a traditional sport, I helped on the tennis team, head coach Phil Conley. We kind of talked about recruiting, and with them, you can go into a database and you say, I need an X-rated player. I need like a Y-rated player. we don't have that. There's not a database of students.
There's not a 4-star recruits and 5-star recruits out there for you.
You know, it's, and not to say that it's easy to recruit in any aspect, but when you don't have a list of students, you know, it gets tough. You can certainly say and generalize, well, maybe if you get a list of students that are interested in computer science majors, but then that would go against everything that we currently have, because I'll tell you right now, of our 30, we have like 16 or 17 that are like forensic science majors. And I mean, they're bringing in like the criminal justice, you know, what TU is really strong about.
Right.
And that goes against obviously what, you know, criminal or going against for like the computer science majors that you would say, oh, those are definitely your esports kids.
Right.
It definitely gets tough in that regard. But one thing that I have noticed is once you talk with a kid that's passionate about esports, there's not a whole lot that I have to do. It's a very passionate industry. You tell them what
you just got to find him first.
Exactly. That's the hardest part. Once you find them, they're just like, oh, I'm in. Like, you know, I'm sold. So it's tough, but definitely rewarding. It's
been a whirlwind, hasn't it, so far? I mean, you were working on, like you said, you worked with us before. We'll give you your whole timeline here at Tiffin University in just a minute. But, you know, from when you first got involved with this, you know, doing work with the sports information department while trying to do this and now doing this full time, it's probably been a pretty big whirlwind. And what's something you learned that you didn't expect, or something that surprised you in this whirlwind? I definitely think it would just be how well I've learned to juggle my time between everything that I've been involved in. You know, because you're finishing up your master's, you're walking in April, right?
Yeah. I'll be finishing my master's degree here in about 2 weeks. As Russ said, I've been working with the athletic department and doing this. It's definitely been tough, but I love this industry so much. You know, one of the things that made a lot of this possible was, you know, I love broadcasting, I love radio, and I love esports. So when they say, you know, if you love your job, you never work a day in your life, you know, even the games when maybe they didn't go in our favor and we had to kind of sit through a rough game, I still enjoyed it because I loved radio. It's the same kind of concept. When we go through our struggles, you know, when we have our lows, a couple weeks where, you know, we weren't getting any bites on students, it was rough. But going through and talking to new companies, getting new sponsorships, and having people email me and just say, hey, you know, we've heard of you. One of the big ones that we thought was cool that Lonnie Allen actually shared was school, like state school out in Utah. They recently started up their program, and we were mentioned in their article about one of the premier schools that had started all of this.
That's awesome.
And it's just cool to be able to say, you know, I'm a part of that.
Heck yeah.
And it's something nice to be able to put on paper.
Bro, you mentioned the broadcast aspect. That's another aspect where people can grow in this position. That's probably going to be one of the faster growing, because you see the platforms expanding all the time for folks to be able to view them, whether it's web, and you're seeing it on actual television networks as well too now. So that's an aspect that's going to continue to grow for kids as well.
Yeah, that's
where we can work hand in hand.
That's 100% my dream job, man. I would love to be able to broadcast esports. I've done a little bit here and there for some smaller tournaments, but nothing large scale. That's my dream, to be able to be on radio, broadcast what I love. You know, I love sports. I've been around them my whole life, and I've been around video games my whole life. So if I could combine that love and be able to sit in like a large tournament in the Staples Center and Madison Square Garden and be able to, you know, broadcast that live, man.
I don't care what I'm broadcasting. If I'm broadcasting Staples Center or Madison Square Garden, I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you mentioned your love of sports. Let's talk about a little bit here before we close up about your path to Tiffin University and your success story. You were from Port Clinton High School, came here to play tennis. What year did you graduate high school, and when did you enroll here at TU?
I graduated in 2011, and we were lucky enough, my cousin Chelsea Beck and I, we were lucky enough to know head coach Phil Conley pretty much our whole lives. When he was 18, actually getting ready to enroll in Tiffin, he was giving us tennis lessons at the local racket club when we were younger. So immediately when we were looking to kind of pursue our tennis careers, he snatched us up pretty quickly. So I came here in 2011, and I graduated a semester early, and that was when I kind of really started helping Phil do a little bit of assistant coaching. That's when I really started working with you guys as well. And luckily enough, I was able to receive a graduate assistant position and started working with Shane O'Donnell in the sports information department, doing a little bit of statting, and then started working with you guys a little bit, doing some soccer, some lacrosse, and then kind of moving my way up through the broadcast world, starting to get some time in basketball, doing a little bit of everything. We traveled up. We went to Grand Valley, which was a lot of fun. So definitely growing and becoming a much better broadcaster. I think one of the best moments that I had was actually it was at halftime of a women's soccer game, and I was kind of just walking around stretching my legs, and I was just talking with a lady out in the field, and she was like, "Man, you sound familiar." And I said, "Well, I do broadcast soccer games." She goes, "That's where I heard you from." She said, "I love listening. You're so funny." And to me, that's the best part. You hear the parents. I remember when we were doing softball, and Peyton Demon's mom came up to us. She said, "My husband's out in Pennsylvania right now. He can't be to the game. He's sitting in a hotel hotel room listening to the game. And that's awesome.
That's why we're doing what we're doing.
And it really is a great aspect, and we're going to do the same thing with esports. We'll be able to broadcast it on the web. We'll be able to have parents to watch their kids grow and play. While they may not understand the game completely, they'll be able to develop and learn a little bit more, and just be able to see their kids succeeding is pretty important.
No doubt. You love your little one. You want to see them succeed, no matter if they're 5, 10, 15, 20 years old. They're still your little one forever.
Absolutely.
That's for darn sure. You don't have to worry about that, but I'm sure it'll be in your future at some time. But Chalin, thank you so much for making time for us, man. It's been a pleasure working with you over the last couple years, and continued success. I mean, the esports program is flying, and I'm sure that it's almost impossible to estimate where the ceiling is going to be with this program. And continued success. Keep working hard, and something we can collaborate with together, and we'll keep moving forward with it, man. Great job with the open house. Continued success, and thanks for your time.
Thanks a lot, Russ. Really appreciate it.
He's Chalin Cahlik. He's the head coach of the Tiffin University esports program. If you'd like more information on esports, you can get it at
GoTiffinDragons.com. We have an esports link on there. My information, Dr. Michael Kidd's information, is on there. Email us, call us, whatever. We'd love to have you be a part of the program.
This has been your Campus Connection interview. We'll be back with more music after this. This is your home of the Dragons, WTUD.